Hey man, say man, it's the one and only Jamaica man back with a week 6 quick break. And a quick question for you. What's the shway? Do you know what the shway is? Oh man. I just heard that song and it sounded cool. I thought I'd just say that for no reason to add some entertainment value. Anyway, Better Days is back to another mother loving, shout out my mom, quick break. And there's some things that have gone unspoken about, and I'm going to bring it to your attention. Thank you all for supporting me throughout this endeavor. Everyone that's made recommendations, everyone that's watched on any platform that I have it. I really appreciate that I'm adding value to the basketball space. Also, thank you to those other podcasts or other basketball personalities that understand the importance of breaking down film to educate their audiences. I see you. Shout out to you. Let's keep it going. Let's build. I don't really see you all as competition in any way, shape, or form because this is a space that we have that is not ESPN, that is not any of the major corporations that dictate the climate of these players' mental health. Check out a pod that I'll have soon, my first pod of the year, unpopular opinion, coming soon. Nevertheless, why is no one talking about the Phoenix Suns? Do y'all know that they have won 15 games straight? It's like they playing a game on rookie right now. But in actuality, it's a lot of things going on. First and foremost, Chris Paul. I don't know how old he is now. It doesn't even matter. Me and him have the same diet. Me and him have the same exercise regimen. So it really doesn't matter in the sense that he remains young for, not putting things in his body that he once did. I would say look at the 2012 or 2008 Olympic team when LeBron and all them were at McDonald's. I guarantee you that's not the same Chris Paul today. Also, the fact that he's always led his teams. Every single team he's been on, he's been a floor general. In my opinion, it's only one other floor general that gets the respect to be in the same conversation with Isaiah Thomas, and Chris Paul is that. I am on record previously for not liking his tactics similarly because it triggered me and my mental health because that's how I play the game. But to see it done, him to provoke people to anger in that way is such a mental chess move. And it's no different than a Kobe Bryant provoking you with his aggressiveness or Michael Jordan provoking you with his competitive nature. You need an edge outside of just putting the ball in the basket, and he has that. But he's found a army, if you will, in Phoenix that allows for us to marvel at young players getting it right away. Y'all try to write him off at OKC. He said, all right, bet. Not only will I get this team to the playoffs, I'm going to put Dennis Schroeder in a conversation where he has the ability to get paid. Now, he didn't get paid. He made the decision to bet on himself. And actually in Boston, he's one of the bright spots this year, believe it or not. Devin Booker has finally found that peace. And it's in the likeness of the market. All controversy to the CEO group aside. We're not going to go there. But what we will say is that they paid Devin Booker $70 million previously, and he's on pace to max his deal again. And they did a great job by adding Chris Paul, and they made the run that they made, right? Effortlessly, I would say, because the young players like Mikal Bridges, Cam Payne, Cam Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, they all bought in. Frank the Tank Kaminsky bought in, and DeAndre Ayton finally has arrived as a center in this league. Not paid. He should be paid, but I understand the process. You got to pay Devin first. Then hopefully you get to DeAndre Ayton. But if they let DeAndre Ayton get out that door, that's probably one of the only things that Chris Paul has not been able to do. But like LeBron, everywhere he goes, he gets players paid, and they play together, and they win. Now, he's not always had the talent, but you can't say that anymore. You can't say that anymore. Mikal Bridges, Thomas, they locking up on the wings, if you will, getting shots and slashing. Everyone knows their roles. They defend like this, and the ball moves beautifully. For a team that outside of Chris Paul and Devin Booker aren't that dynamic. But I put respect on their name. They are currently winning 15 games straight as of Friday. You got to give these guys their credit. They deserve it. Top 5 in the West. And they're on pace to make that return in the way that they want. And they're playoff ready. They know what mistakes they made and they know what limitations they had to lose last year. Your roses to you all. Shout out Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, if you will. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. I believe that's your name out of UNC. DeAndre Ayton, man. Payton, man. Frank the Tank, get better soon. I see you. We see you here at Ism Sports. Also, if you have not checked out this week 11 recap with Week 12 predictions, check out Thoughts by Ty, Eat Sleep Blitz on Spotify right now. Eat Sleep Blitz by Thoughts by Ty, the dot between the T and the Y, you dig? Also, why are we talking about the Clippers? Yeah, I know. We much rather talk about the Lakers' calamity right now, respectfully. Shout out LeBron. But respectfully to what they got going on and trying to figure that out. But the Clippers are actually producing. They're actually winning games. They're playing together. And they're being led by someone that's been trashed in the media, similarly to Phoenix not being referenced. I mentioned it a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't hear any doubters now. But this man, Paul George, PG-13, playoff P. Whatever he needed to lock in gear, you know how hard it is to know that you're great, recover from injury, be told that you are no better than Scottie Pippen, even though it is on record that Scottie Pippen was the preferred player to be coached. Shout out to Scottie Pippen. He was actually the greatest talent that was ever coached on that Bulls team. Now, I say that because there is a difference, and I'll get to it later. Jason Tatum, timestamp. Just remember I said that. Okay? Right now, we're speaking about the Clippers also moving like this, led by Paul George, also being held down by Terrence Mann. Who saw that coming? Reggie Jackson, a.k.a. Bobby Shmurda, in full effect this year. Picked up where he left off in the playoffs last year. It's interesting that the Western Conference finalists, if you will, are currently running off the same momentum into this year. I just noticed that just now. But you got to get them their credit. So the difference between the two teams, Phoenix and the Clippers. Chris Paul teams are fast break on the pass. These young players can run. So it's not necessarily not a fast break team, but Devin Booker is a half-court scorer. Chris Paul is a methodical half-court point guard. Paul George, rather, he moves like this. No matter what. Fast break, whatever. You're not going to speed him up. And you know how they say that with Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, if you will, or Paul Pierce of years past, and how they were able to just control the pacing, if you will. Right? I don't even think Tracy McGrady had the fluidness to be able to not be rushed. But I think it mirrors Tracy McGrady respectfully. He does not rush for anybody, and for his size, at his position, just through scout, period, he has the smoothest ball handling outside of Kyrie Irving, if you ask me. Then I would say Jason Tatum. But I'm not going to speak on what I'm referring to Jason Tatum in this time, but I want you to understand the balance. Phoenix to Clippers, how they're winning games from last year into this year, being playoff opponents, and all of the teams that made it to the West Conference Finals still being locked in, right? And then you have Boston. In this case, Jason Tatum. Now, there are murmurings, I would say, coming out that Jason Tatum is still 23 years old, and he's happy to be what you know him to be. He'd rather not have 15 points and this team win by 30. Possibly Achilles heel, but we do know that Marcus Smart came out and spoke against that, saying that they are taking turns shooting. There's an internal struggle there. If nothing else, not saying it's Jason Tatum's fault, not saying that it's Marcus Smart's fault or Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown hasn't been there, right? I want you to see the difference between Phoenix, the Clippers, to Boston. They can't become this because you have one of these that is very good, but he doesn't want to do this. From what I've been told, what I've read, what I've understand, right? There are a lot of players in the league that may have this perception that is being forced upon Jason Tatum. I'm not saying it is right. There are a lot of teams that do that. There are a lot of players that do that. And my team lost to the class of the NBA last night, soundly. From the 2-minute mark in the second quarter all the way to the end, the Warriors showed you exactly what NBA basketball is about. If you haven't seen it, I've been flagged a few times for the content that I've shown you all, and I'll begin to corner the market on that because I'm playing live film as I'm explaining, which is not my content. I respect that, and I work around that. But please go back and watch the Portland Warriors game as of Friday. I was excited for it. I do appreciate what my team has done to this point, but we lost on the chess match basically because we're dribbling instead of passing the ball. A lot of weak side shots was given to the Warriors simply because we were not prepared. And you've seen the highlight on ESPN when Jordan Poole mixed Dame Lillard. He was playing defense, but he got mixed. They don't tell you that there were 3 passes before that happened, and there was a rotation and an emphasis to keep the ball off the weak side so it could happen. It opens up lanes to the middle of the floor, and that's what you saw in Jordan Poole being able to misdirect because they had passed the ball so much to the weak side. Dame had to commit because they exposed our weakness that I let you all know previously, that CJ and Dame don't need to be in that short corner. They made sure that they were in that short corner all night. If you look at CJ's stat line, it's indicative of him having to play defense. Not that he can't score. Not that he takes too long to score. It's just that this man was getting cooked simply because he's bought into the identity of Portland. Dame has done so as well. But even though you buy into a team concept, even though you're an individual on a team like they're saying Jason Tatum, you may not be as successful as the Clippers or the Suns. But without a shadow of a doubt, the Warriors right now, if I had to say, they are going to beat the Clippers and the Suns. So you know how hard it is to win in the NBA? That's my point. All right, let's dial back to Golden State. So we have a similar offense in Portland to Golden State, right? But we lost Terry Stotts. We lost the ability to move the ball, that extra pass. We give the extra pass, but it's more dribble-oriented. So instead of me passing the ball to the corner, I'm dribbling the ball to the corner. And you'll notice in Dame Lillard's passes to the middle when Nurkic slips, because that's our strength outside of our three-point shooting, that we have a big that can dumpster dive and take so many people with him to create shots in the corner. Well, Golden State was ready for that because they do that. They don't have a big, so all they had to do was collapse on a big. A lot of passes that you see Dame, shout out to Tev, he told me that Dame is still learning how to do that. He's not passing people open. He's trusting the offense. All good, but you do understand that even though you get everything right, you still can lose. Like I said with John Morant, prayers up to him and the knee sprain that he has as well. Get well as soon as possible. The league needs you. Not just Memphis, the league needs you. Carrying on. Even though you could be as good as these teams, the Suns have 15 wins in the regular season. The Clippers are top 5. Boston, they had an appearance Eastern Conference Finals as rookies, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, but they still have some work to do. You have 3 different ideas. Not ready in Boston, getting there in Portland, knowing what they are in Phoenix and the Clippers, but being a championship caliber team in Golden State. And I stress to you all, Klay Thompson is not playing, but I will tell you this. After the game last night, he sat on the bench for 2 hours with a towel on his head. May not be nothing to the casual fan, but as a hooper, oh man, here we go. You already can't stop the confidence of Jordan Poole. You already can't stop the confidence of Gary Payton. No one can stop Steph Curry. And Draymond's with whatever you're with. Not like the confrontation that happened between Detroit and Los Angeles this week. Cut that out. Shout out to Ant-Man speaking on his particular confrontation with Jimmy Butler. It's like, come on, guys. You're already entertaining us. You don't need to go over the top and create a situation that gets you kicked out the league. This is your second or third year in the league, bruh. You know the name of the game, the politics. That guy is making so much money for the NBA. They're not going to allow you to harm him, regardless of what he does, right? I understand that it's a cheap shot. Take it out on the floor because your team in Detroit is still learning what pieces they're going to keep. Emphasis on pieces they want to keep. So it's so many different things that you can focus on, right? You have the individual and the idea that Jason Tatum is playing for self. Then you have an Isaiah Stewart that's playing for his role because that's how he plays, so he's going to play hard. You don't question his competitive nature. But curtailing that allows for you to buy in to the team concept. It's a bad look to have the number one draft pick holding you back. It's a terrible look that LeBron inadvertently or on purpose hits you in the eye like that, right? That would be a cerebral attack that I was speaking of Chris Paul, and something that I wouldn't be opposed to doing if that means I win the game. It's not right. But in all of these conundrums of how to play the NBA game, you still have to win. So you tell me out of all of those teams, which teams are in the top five? I haven't named any Eastern Conference teams besides the Celtics, but we know the Clippers are top five. We know the Suns are top five. We know Golden State's top five. Detroit is not top five in their conference. Unfortunately, at this time, Los Angeles, despite their caliber of franchise ability, if you will, they're not top five either. So what should we be focused on? Portland is seventh right now. The focus should be always on the team concept of basketball. That's how you hold your coach responsible. That's how you hold your GM responsible getting those valuable pieces in. I say this for weeks, but now I'm always going to continue to remind you of the story, right? If your team isn't playing to their identity like Phoenix or the Clippers, or if you're not clicking on all cylinders while you're playing to your identity, using all of the floor like Golden State, you can be no better than Portland being a great offense. They'll get there on defense, but they're not using all of their options because they're using things that Jason Tatum thinks that he can make money off of. Where do you think these young players learning from? All of this, that's what gets you known. So a player's like, I want to be known. I want my shoe deal. But if everyone doesn't have on your shoes like a Michael Jordan, 6 rings, or Kobe Bryant, 5 rings, or LeBron James, 4 rings, etc., then it really doesn't make the impact that you want. So that's my advice to the younger players. That's my advice to any player that may be at that crossroads where they like, man, I'm doing good, but I'm not on a winning team. It's a reason. You're not playing with a winning mentality. So shout out to the Clippers again. Paul George is an MVP candidate. Give that man his credit. He took all of your ridicule. He took my critique, addressed it, and still hasn't been pressured to do anything else but move like this. Give you 26. I think he got 5 assists. He rebounding. His percentage is efficient. Give that man his credit. You already know what CP3 doing. Devin Booker about to get paid. And my condolences to the life of Young Dolph. And I'll leave it like that. And you always remember, it's in you, not on you. So they live with us forever. It's